Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm joined with Teddy today, and we're going to be answering questions that you submitted. I asked on the community tab page of my YouTube channel, as well as mentioning it in one of my videos. I don't do a specific video kind of asking questions, I just kind of plonked it in the middle of like a vlog style video. And I got quite a lot of questions, so we're going to answer every single one of them. I don't think I've missed any. I hope I haven't missed any. Yeah, this is going to be a long video, I'm sorry. But it's a good way, hopefully, to get to know me a little bit better, and hopefully it's interesting for you to, hear something a little bit more personal outside of just perfume all the time. So yeah, enjoy. Grab yourself a coffee or something. So the first question is, which fragrance do you wear while you're diving? Now, obviously I don't wear fragrances when I'm diving, but to elaborate on the question a little bit, better, I'll tell you what I take when I go offshore. So when I go away working offshore, I always take Pomelo Paradis by Atelier Cologne. This one is a pomelo note, so it's kind of like a warm, juicy grapefruit with a bit of an amber base. Burns off in about an hour in the Dubai heat. I take Mancera's Lemon Lime. This is a candied sweet lemon fragrance. It lasts between 1 to 2 hours in Dubai. It lasts better in the UK, but in the humid, hot temperatures of Dubai it doesn't really work. And I also take Abel White Vetiver, which is why there's such a big chunk out of it already, even though it's new, because I wore it every day last time I was offshore. And that one is based around a really nice lime note and kind of a clean vetiver. So I guess you could say when I'm diving I'm wearing one of those because I've sprayed it on in the morning. On to the next question. Martin Chu writes, how good Dubai employers paid you since you have huge perfume oil collection, with a laughing face emoji, laughing face emoji. I'm pretty sure it's just generally considered rude across all cultures on the planet to ask someone how much money they earn. You're not meant to really discuss money earnings. That it's just, I thought that was kind of a common understanding across different cultures, but maybe that's lost in some countries. But from where I'm from, it's rude to talk about that stuff, so we're not gonna answer that. If you could only have 5 perfumes in your life, what would they be? That's really not easy to answer. 5 perfumes for life is such a commitment. I feel like I go through phases of liking things. I have it with my music. I'll go through a phase of listening to a particular band or style of music, and then I'll kind of over listen to it and then get a bit tired of it, and then I'll find something else I like, and kind of it might be years before I go back to the one that I liked before, if you know what I mean. And it goes through phases and cycles, and I feel like perfume will probably end up like that as well. So to say for life is a big commitment that I don't want to kind of restrict myself to, but at the moment what I would keep for 5 fragrances is Tuscan Leather, Abel White Vetiver, Madrona by Matriarch, let me look, Boshnikov by Fortin Manley, I'm just looking at all my collection thinking there's only one left. This is really difficult. Maybe Kazemi, just because it's like a really more of a masculine rose. Maybe those 5 at the moment. Okay, so Mr. Oz writes, as a perfumer, what inspires you? I don't feel like I'm a perfumer, to be honest. I feel like to be a perfumer you need to be kind of classically trained properly by a master perfumer to kind of have the title of perfumer. That's just me. Maybe, I guess I'm a self-taught perfumer. I don't know, I don't feel like I'm worthy of the word at the moment, and especially I've not proven myself to anybody. you know, I don't have a successful brand at the moment, so I don't feel that word fits me at the moment. But what inspires me in perfume creation in general tends to be two things: music and imagery. I've been into music for pretty much all my life, playing music like guitar and pretty much anything with strings, and getting lost listening to music as well as playing to music. And when I hear particular songs, or when I smell particular fragrances, they can trigger, I don't know, like I hear soundtracks and I imagine scents that would go along with those soundtracks. I've actually made perfume that way. One of the fragrances I'm going to be releasing eventually was literally created to a song. Like I was listening to it while I was making it and I had it in my head, and that song smelled a certain way in my brain. So music is a big part of inspiration for me, and also image, like either a photograph or a moving image or an imagination kind of imagery, usually of particular places and times in history and, you know, things like that. They, you know, image and music, I'm creative visually and with audio, basically. Cheers, us. Chris writes, discuss your top 3 favourite foods, home cooked. It can be something your mother and father cooked or something that you love eating or cooking yourself, but top 3 that you can think of. Just choose 3 dishes. Lol, I'm a chef at a restaurant in LA. Cheers. Cheers, Chris. I will be honest, well, I never had a dad, so he never cooked anything, and he couldn't cook. Like, not that I knew him, but I know he couldn't cook. My mum's talked about that in the past, that he was useless that way. Never cooked a meal in his life. My mother isn't the best cook, to be honest. And my 3 favourite dishes is difficult. I'm actually a very picky eater, and it's something I'm not proud of at all. Like, it embarrasses me, I'll be honest. It's something that I don't like talking about, and I'm not really even going to probably delve in too much exactly to the extent of it. But if you thought I was picky in fragrance, then you would laugh at how picky I am with food. It's ridiculous, and it embarrasses me, I'll be honest. So yeah, I'm extremely picky. So I would say 3 meals that I do enjoy though. I like cooking like roast dinners. Not that I have them all that often, but when I do, they're very enjoyable. And my favourite probably is roast pork. So I get a joint of pork with the fat, the crackling, the skin, and you rub the salt in there, and you have the nice chewy crackling with some slices of roast pork, with homemade roast potatoes and gravy, with sage and onion stuffing, tasty, and some homemade Yorkshire puddings. I'm good at cooking that, and generally kind of any roast dinner, like roast chicken or roast beef, I'm pretty good at doing roast dinners. So that's 1. A comfort food for me is probably macaroni cheese, just because it's really easy to make. I kind of just get like a spoonful of corn flour with a bit of cold milk, and then you make a little paste, and then you heat it up and you just add more milk, and that creates your white sauce, and then you melt your cheese in there, some extra strong mature cheddar cheese, and then you make a nice cheese sauce, cook your macaroni, bing bang bosh. And what I do is I get a tin of chopped tomatoes, but I don't like the big chunks of tomato, so I sieve the juice, and then I have tomato juice over the macaroni cheese, which maybe some people find weird, but I really like the taste of that, and it's kind of a comfort food. Again, I don't have it all that often because I've got to be in the mood for it. And another one, probably another meal like spaghetti bolognese. I like Italian food. I like a lot of pasta dishes, to be honest. That's probably my favourite cuisine in general is Italian. I'm quite good at making bolognese, so probably those 3. Not that exciting, I'm sorry. I don't have the broadest palette when it comes to food. Again, like my fragrance, my taste is like that. It's really bad. I wish I could eat better and enjoy more. That's a whole topic in itself. Yeah. What is the oldest perfume you smelled, and what is your favourite vintage perfume and why? The oldest perfume I smelled is probably from my mother's collection, and she's got bottles that are around about 35 years old, so not really that old to be fair. So those are the oldest ones I've smelled, and my favourite from those vintages was Mitsuko, which I would wear myself. I think it smells great. What I like about Mitsuko is the big oak moss dry down. I like oak moss, it's a beautiful note. Matthew writes, given fragrance has the power to transcend time and place, what is the most powerful transcendent experience you've had as a result of smelling a fragrance? I mean, transcendent is a big word. That's like something out of the ordinary, that, you know, beyond kind of human consciousness and kind of going into some kind of higher space. I'm not going to pretend I have that experience. So, you know, I haven't had a powerful transcendent experience purely just based on smelling a perfume. You know, I mean, when I smell certain perfumes and I close my eyes, like this one transports me straight back to Easter Island, where I stepped out of the little, I don't know what you call it, little bungalow thing that I was renting, and I had a garden with a palm tree in it overlooking the ocean, and I was on a hillside, so I was on like a bit of a hill cliffy thing with a palm tree right in front of me overlooking the ocean, and it was an amazing view, and I was testing this to review it. And when I smell this, I'm reminded of smelling it and looking at that view of the palm tree and the ocean and the hill, and it's straight back to that point. And just smelling this and thinking, yeah, this fits so well. Looking at that view was incredible, and I smelled this. So that triggers, but it's not a transcendent experience. It's just a nice memory. But I haven't transcended anywhere, so I'm not going to kind of pretend. Fragrances give me memories and visuals, and certain smells make me think of certain things, but it doesn't lift me out into another universe or whatever. So that's my best answer there. The next question is, what are your favourite fragrances you've reviewed this year? One that I really found myself enjoying a lot is Fort Manley's Bozhnikov. It's funny because when I first smelled the Fort Manley line, I was like, I'm not sure I get these fragrances. They were a bit kind of, I wasn't sure if I didn't dislike any of them, but I wasn't sure I particularly liked them or understood them or kind of got them. And I did the kind of first impressions with Timmy, and we were kind of struggling to describe them, and they were just a little bit different. But then I spent more time, I ended up buying a couple of bottles anyway, and Bozhnikov I wear all the time, like more than Tuscan Leather. Like, I enjoy it a lot. It's a great fragrance. So that one is probably my most enjoyed throughout the last 12 months. Or however long it's been now, but generally speaking, I got it at the beginning of the year. I think it's the end of December when I got it, or maybe early January. But yeah, fantastic fragrance. So I would say that one definitely, just the sheer amount of times I'm reaching for it, like I've used like half the bottle already. So yeah, good stuff, I like that one. That's probably been my favourite this year. And that one is based around a natural oud, real oud, which I believe is an oud from Ensar, mixed with a lavender opening and mixed with chocolate and vanilla and vetiver and cedar and gaiac wood. It's good stuff. It's like a woody kind of gourmand. The next question is, what was your favourite fragrance you ever made and why? That would be the one I'm working on at the moment that's very nearly finished, that's using one of Ensar ouds. It uses a wild aged Maroc oud, which is kind of earthy and dusty and dry. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm blending it with, because it's the first one in my fragrance line when I launch it. But I really like it. It's based around a theme and an idea, and I've got the name for it and everything, and I'm kind of trying to fine-tune the balance at the moment, just to try and tweak it as perfect as I can get it. But I'm proud of that one. I think I personally really enjoy it. That one's my favourite. But I can't kind of reveal too much about it because it's not out there yet. How old were you when you started playing guitar? See, I've always had a guitar as long as I can remember, from probably the age of maybe 7 years old. I think was my first acoustic guitar. Maybe a bit younger, maybe about 6 or 7 years old I got my first acoustic, and from then I've always had a guitar. I got an electric guitar in my early teens, maybe about 14, 15, and yeah, and snowballed really once I got an electric guitar is when I found my passion for guitar playing. So I've had one for a long time. So if you were to ask me how long I've been playing guitar, I would say properly, like full on, like 15 years, where I've taken it more seriously, but I've had it longer than that. The next question is, do you listen to music from Iron Maiden? The simple answer is no. I never got into that band. I don't like the style or the singing or just the sound of it. It's very stuck in the 80s. It's not my kind of jam, is that. The next question is, what's your idea of a perfect day and evening? And what is your weirdest trait or phobia, if you have any? I think a perfect day would be feeling like I have a purpose that day, doing something creative, having something, like, I want to get something done. Like, for instance, my brother a long time ago, before he passed away, he smuggled a tortoise from Thailand to the UK in a cigarette packet. Like a street seller was selling like hundreds of them in a bucket, and they were kind of dying, and he wanted to save them, so he brought one back with him, somehow managed to get it through customs without being found, and we've had the tortoise ever since. My sister looks after the tortoise now, and his enclosure was a bit small, so a couple of months ago I banged together a brand new enclosure for him, and like I spent the whole day like measuring wood, drawing, cutting with like hand sawing the wood to the right size pieces and drilling the holes and screwing it together, making this big frame and setting it up with a beam on top for the lights. And I got some logs from the forest and made like a little place for him to hide inside, and I put it all together in a day and finished it off. And when you've finished, you feel like you've accomplished something, and it's been creative and satisfying, and you've got a reward at the end of it. I think something like that is a good feeling and makes me kind of happy. When I know I've got a purpose, I've got a job to do, I do it and I finish it. That's a perfect day. Perfect evening, relaxing, chilling out, listening to music, watching a sunset if I'm in a beautiful place. It's not something I do when I'm at home. I don't go off into the woods and watch a sunset, but like Easter Island, every night on Easter Island I went to a different place to watch the sun go down, and that's just perfect. The next part of the question was, do I have any phobias? I think I don't really have. Okay. Yeah, so for one, I'm scared of really big heights. Things like climbing on a roof or, you know, climbing up a ladder is fine generally, like no problem. But like if I'm at the edge of a cliff, or I'm at the peak of a really high roller coaster, or, you know, some kind of extreme height where like it's really high and you're like on the edge of looking over it, then I'm terrified. Yeah, I just imagine falling off or tripping, or just the fear of falling a long way. That scares me. I'm just scared of big heights. the other thing I'm not going to get into, it ties into being a picky eater. I have phobias of certain foods, if you want to call it a phobia. I don't know if you would class it as a phobia. Certain foods I mentally can't eat. Like, I mentally can't put them in my mouth and chew them because it would make me want to be sick. There's certain things that just I can't do. So whether or not you want to call that a phobia, but I'm a picky eater, unfortunately, and it embarrasses me. I'm not proud of it. I wish I wasn't. I just feel stupid about it. It's not something that I like about myself, but I am picky with certain things. Like, if I've ordered something at a restaurant or someone's cooked me a meal and it has mushrooms in it, like, ugh, like I have to dissect it and remove every last little piece of mushroom. Things like that. It's embarrassing, really, and I wish I could just eat anything I wanted, but like, I can't get past it in my brain. It's really difficult for me. So I guess maybe you can class it as a phobia. It's not specific to mushroom, it covers multiple things. It's unfortunate. The next question is from Casey, and she writes, which perfumer or nose do you respect most and why? And what is your most emotional fragrance moment? And which fragrance does Teddy like, hate to sniff the most? Thank you. I'm not sure how to answer it. I'm not going to give like a specific person like the most, but generally speaking, I would respect anyone that's spent a long time like learning a craft, whatever it is, like guitar playing, whatever, painting, perfumery. If you spent time and passion and energy and you've stayed true to your artistic creative intentions, then they've got my respect. And what is your most emotional fragrance moment? I don't have any hugely emotional moments with fragrance. Like, I mean, I've been single since I got into fragrance. That's, what, 5 years now? So it's like I've got no memories of sharing things with a girlfriend or whatever. Like, that would be maybe some kind of emotional moments, but I'm on my own, so I don't really have any hugely emotional kind of moments. Which fragrance does Teddy like or hate to sniff the most? Teddy, what do you think to that? That's his reaction with most fragrances. He just doesn't care. The only fragrance he really liked or had an interest in was Pure Civet Absolute, which is the paste out of the kind of an anal gland of the civet cat. He loves that stuff. He tried to eat the bottle. So yeah, he likes the smelly stuff. The next question is, what do you think about Alexandria and Dewar fragrances? Do you agree that they are clone fragrances? Have you tested them? Wouldn't you like to do the same, and when you made profits, make your own fragrance? Have you ever tried to clone a fragrance? Okay, so this is kind of multiple parts. So, do I agree that they're clone fragrances? Well, I don't really know much about Alexandria. I've never watched any reviews on Alexandria. I've never smelled them. Don't have an opinion that way, because I don't know. Dewar, never smelled a single one of them, but I would say yes, they're definitely a clone house. Do you agree they are clone? So yes, Dewar is a clone house. Have you tested them? No. And I don't have an interest in testing them. Wouldn't you like to do the same? No. And when you made profits, make your own fragrance? No, not in the slightest. Have you ever tried to clone a fragrance? No. So, the way I look at it is, I'm a creative person, and I consider myself having artistic talent in general, like with photography, with music. Just, I'm naturally, that's what I like to do. I'm creative. That's my medium that resonates with me personally. So the way I view, to be an artist, you need to have your own voice. an artist speaks to the world through their own voice, not through someone else's voice. It's an expression of within themselves as an individual. That's what makes it a unique piece of art, because it's personal. If you then copy someone else's piece of art, you are just copying someone else's piece of art. Yours then is not art, because yours is just copying someone else's creativity, not using your own creativity. It's not your own voice, you've just stolen someone else's voice. So, as someone who takes pride in being creative and artistic, that would not give me any fulfillment or joy. I would be not happy doing that. It wouldn't fulfill me. I don't want to steal other people's hard work. I want to give to the world my own hard work. So that's the way I view it. So I would never clone fragrances, sell them to make a profit, and then launch my own brands later. That I would rather just never do a brand in the first place. You know, that just wouldn't happen. The next question is, how do you feel about Maison Margiela? I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I know the brand. I'm in love with the scents. Soul of the Forest, for instance. I would love if you could analyse it and try to recreate it. So in general, they're okay. None of them I would buy myself, although a few of them I think are quite nice. I don't really have strong opinions either way on that brand. You can't really recreate, copy a fragrance properly without, you know, a machine to analyse the fragrance for you. The next question is, any plans on launching your own line of fragrances soon? Would love to sample some once they are out. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm not sure about soon. It might be July, August at a guess. I'm not really sure when it's going to be ready. It depends on a lot of things. So some point next year it will be ready. So yeah, thank you. Next question is, if you weren't pursuing a career in fragrance, what else would you dream of doing? So that's from Tammy. Thanks, Tammy. I mean, my career at the moment is like an offshore diver, so I would probably just put more energy into that, really, to be honest. I mean, it's a pretty cool career. I get to travel, and you know, it's an interesting job, and you're always learning. So if I wasn't interested in fragrance, I would just carry on with my diving, really. But if we're talking kind of hypothetical, kind of fantasy stuff, it would have been nice to do something with my guitar, but the chances of being in a successful band are like winning the lottery. But you know, if I could have gone on tour with a band and made my living playing guitar on a stage, that would have been pretty awesome. But you know, that's probably not very realistic. The next question is, what percentage of one's income do you think is a reasonable number to spend on fragrance, considering fragrance collection is said person's primary hobby? I have not got an answer for you, I'm sorry. Like, that doesn't even come into my head about splitting an income into percentages. Basically spend what you can afford, you know, don't overspend. If you can't the way I look at it is, if you have to think about, can I afford this, and you have to actually think about it, then don't buy it, because you can't afford it. If you have to actually think in your brain, okay, is this a good idea, can I get this, then just don't. Save your money. Fragrance is not that important. There are more important things to spend your money on, like paying bills and buying food. So, you know, people just, I don't know, develop a stronger ability to not constantly purchase things. You know, you can go through life where you would like something, you don't have to spend your money getting it though, and it's not going to make you any happier once you've got it. So my advice is, if you have to think about it, just don't bother buying it. If you're in a position where, yeah, you can go out and buy a bottle of that and not really think about it, then that's fine. You're not going to stress yourself it's not a problem. But if you start having to think, can I, then it's probably best that you save your money, is my advice. That's the best way I can answer that. Teddy's bored, he's walked off. Sam asks, in your experimenting, have you ever accidentally stumbled upon a new accord? I don't know really if, like, you never know if something is a new accord because someone might have created it, so what's new? I've made things that I thought were interesting and really nice. Whether or not, you know, probably someone's done it before though, somewhere. That's, you know, difficult to know, I suppose. Aussie Mech writes, if the quality and mastery of a blending by a perfumer is what eventually determines how good a fragrance smells to the nose of the consumer, then isn't the whole natural oil versus synthetic a red herring, and if not, a tad contrived? Interesting question. So we're saying, what, if the talent of the perfumer is what determines if a fragrance smells good, then isn't natural versus synthetic a red herring, and if not, a tad contrived? I appreciate synthetics are important in perfumery. There's plenty of synthetic fragrances that smell good to me. I own a few synthetic fragrances. Not, you know, I'm not a synthetic hating monster that wants to burn synthetics down and, you know, push natural perfumes in people's faces. Like, synthetics have their place. Mixed media is, you know, an important factor in perfumery. But in general, let's break this down in a different kind of way. Let's say, okay, the skill of building something is based on the skill of the engineer. Let's put that into some kind of something that we can understand in a different way. So let's say we got an engineer that's worked for Ferrari for 50 years, and he can build a Ferrari top to bottom himself, every part of it, he knows every little thing. Okay, and you say, okay, well, this guy knows, he's got really good knowledge, he's very, very skillful, he should be able to make a Ferrari if we put him in a Ford garage. Can he though? Because, you know, the Ford parts aren't Ferrari parts, they're Ford parts. So if you try and build a Ferrari with inferior quality parts, you're going to end up with an inferior end product despite the skill of the person making it. So to put that into context, yes, a skillful perfumer can blend something pleasant with cheap materials, but the end result is determined in part by the quality of the elements that create it. I'm sorry, but there is a difference between using synthetic orris and real orris, and, you know, real 1950s Mysore sandalwood compared to sandal or synthetic. There just is, they smell different, there's a quality difference. It doesn't matter how skillful the perfumer is. Generally speaking, a perfumer with talent, given high quality raw materials, will make an arguably better fragrance than if he is limited to cheap materials. So it's not a red herring or a tad contrived, it's just realistic that, you know, if you start off with a point where you have top quality things, you're going to end up with a top quality product if you have the skill to manage them together. If you given a pool of very cheap things, you're going to end up with a cheap product. Like with anything in life, like building a Ferrari with Ford parts, that's how it is to me. You can feel free to disagree, but that's my opinion. The next question is, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self? I feel like you have to go through life, and it takes time to learn things yourself. I don't think you can give yourself advice. If I could go back and give myself advice, like, I haven't lived through the things that I needed to learn yet. so I'm not really going to learn from it, you know what I mean? So I feel like you get there eventually, but it takes time to live through certain things that you had to learn to get to where you need to go. You have to go through things in order to learn. So I wouldn't give myself any advice, really, because I feel like whatever I went through was important to be the person I am today, and I wouldn't want to change really that. What are your recommendations for cheap but good designer perfumes? I recommend Narciso Rodriguez in general. They make great women's perfumes. I enjoy their men's collection, specifically the EDP for men and the EDT for women. They make great fragrances, very affordable. Check them out if you haven't. But they're more musk based. Will you be doing discovery sets and sample packs for your fragrance? I'm not going to do like a discovery set where it comes like in a fancy box, but I will sell 2ml samples that you can either buy individually or as a group. The next question is from Philip, who writes, "Hey Peter, please could you advise me as an aspiring perfumer how or where I should get synthetic materials, especially when it seems nearly impossible to get my hands on them in South Africa. I tried to find ISOE Super locally, but to no avail. It seems like my only option is ordering online, which involves high additional costs." I'm really sorry, Philip, but I literally have no idea. I don't know any companies in South Africa. I just don't. Or the only companies I know are in the UK and in Italy and in America, which is all going to involve shipping costs for you. So I'm really sorry. I don't know. I mean, Google is your best bet. That's my best solution. Unless you can find like a South African brand that makes, you know, perfume locally, where you can ask them where they get their materials from. I have no idea how to help you there. I'm really sorry. I mean, the only solution might be that you have to import it and pay costs. I'm sorry. The next question is, what's your favourite podcast? And if you're a reader, any favourite books apart from books about perfumery? Podcasts, don't really listen to them, but I do listen to Casey Neistat and Candice Poole podcast, which is called Couples Therapy. Casey Neistat is a perfumer. He's a YouTube vlogger. That's funny. Perfume on the brain. But yeah, I listen to their podcast, and sometimes I listen to Joe Rogan, but through his YouTube podcast where he sits down with guests. Those are the only two really. Apart from, so books, I'm not a huge bookworm. I do enjoy Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've got the big book where it has like all of them in one big book rather than just the first little one. And I've read that probably about 3 times. I enjoy that book. It's one of the few that I can read the whole way through without getting bored. One that I started recently is called 7 Years in Tibet, which is a true story, and it's very good so far. I won't give too much away in case you kind of want to read about it, but it's based on a true story of kind of a mountain climber, explorer guy that kind of gets caught up in the start of the war and ends up befriending the Dalai Lama in Tibet. So yeah, it's a true story. It's a very good book. The next question is from Ben, who writes, "Do you believe in borders, language and culture pertaining to where you are from?" Is he talking about like immigration, or I'm not really kind of sure how it's worded. Do I believe in borders, language and culture? I don't quite get the question, to be honest. I mean, I feel like the world should be a free... Like, I don't like the planet that we live on. I don't like humans. I think we're horrible in general. Like, most of the population... There's just a lot of... From my experience of life, I feel like there's too many bad people. There's too many not good people. There's too many selfish people. There's too many... this is a whole conversation in itself. But I feel like we shouldn't be, what would be ideal for a civilization is that there isn't separate countries and borders, and it would be nice if people were free to go wherever they want on the planet, you know, without a passport. We shouldn't need a passport because we're all on the same bloody stupid piece of rock in space. We should be able to, everywhere should be the same in terms of free to move, everyone getting along, no militaries, no fighting, no wars, no navies, no army, no air force. That stuff shouldn't be a need to have any of it. We should just be a peaceful society, but we're not. We have wars, we have racism, we have fighting, we have corruption, we have all this bullshit politics. Like, I don't like the world that we're in, to be honest. So in general, yeah, I don't believe borders is a good thing as a civilization, because it's segregating people and making things, okay, you're part of this group, you're part of that group, you're part of that group, and it creates problems because people are separated instead of having the mentality that, okay, we're all on the same piece of land. Technically, you know, we're on a small little dot in space, whizzing around the sun, and to have some kind of a global realization of that, that we're not separated, we're not, you belong to this country, you belong to that country, you can't go to this one, you can't go to that one, you can't do this, you're black, you're white, you're whatever it is. Like, that is stupid. Like, we're very stupid as a species. Like, we're very not evolved. Like, if there was some high advanced alien looking down at us, they would probably think that we're just like a cancer on the planet. We destroy the rainforests, we pollute the oceans, we throw garbage everywhere, we kill each other. Like, it's a mess. We are ridiculous as a species. I kind of gone off on a tangent there. So, we'll leave it at that. Sorry, I kind of went off on one. I just wish the world was a better place. I wish people were nicer, and I don't know what the solution is for it. It's something that depresses me a little bit when I think about it, because I mean, there's so much wrong with us, what we do to each other and the planet and everything else that's on it. I feel like we don't deserve to be here. We don't deserve this planet because we just rape it and rape everything else on it. That's my thought. We're very flawed as a species. Lola Sense asks, you don't drink, you don't smoke. What are your vices? What do you do to relieve stress? I know you have a lot of creativity outlets, but anything else? So a vice is like something negative, isn't it? Like smoking or drinking or gambling, like it's like a negative connotation. I don't have any vices that way, typically. The only thing that I would say probably classes a vice that's probably really is not that healthy is sugar. So if I'm really stressed, or I'm upset, or I'm depressed, or I'm having a hard time, or I'm struggling to deal with something, I will go to a shop and I will buy some sugary drinks and some bags of sweets or candy, you know, if you're in America, but just generally sugary stuff, and I will climb into bed and just put myself in a sugar coma. You know, can of Red Bull, a Lucozade, an Iron Brew, or whatever sugary drink I can get, with maybe some red sour laces, they're like red licorice laces with sour sugar, or some strawberry jelly sweets. Yeah, I just destroy a load of sugar and then feel sick afterwards. I would say that's my kind of vice, I suppose. What do you do to relieve stress? So apart from like the comfort eating of sugar thing, the other thing I did to relieve stress, is particularly when I was more of a teenager and kind of growing up, was guitar. I discovered Metallica when I was a teenager, and I think the aggression and in the music and the energy of it, like the raw like power and energy in the music, was an escape for me to vent problems I was going through at an earlier age. You know, with, if you watch my first Q&A, you kind of know what I'm talking about, and I don't really want to get into it again. But I had a difficult family, problems that most people just don't go through or shouldn't go through. I had a lot of, I don't know how I'm not more fucked up and damaged, to be honest. The fact that I've turned out kind of as rounded as I am is a miracle. But music was a big thing for me. I locked myself in my room, literally locked myself in my room, and I played guitar for hours. Like, I would turn on Metallica and I would just learn things like Master of Puppets and Seek and Destroy and all these, you know, heavy songs, and I would learn them note for note, like play them over and over and over and over and over and again until I could play them properly, to the point of it being obsessive. And then when I could play them fluently, like the joy that gave me, and when I was angry or upset or just struggling to deal with stuff, I would just turn that on and play and just like smash it, and it would get it out, all out of me, like, because I zone out with music. Like, I think there's this thing that I call the zone, is the best way probably most people would describe it, is you get in the zone. And getting in the zone is a specific state that you go in where you're not consciously aware that you're doing anything. Like, it's subconsciously is in control, your subconscious is doing it. But when you're in there, you're like perfect. So you'll nail the song, you'll play it perfectly, but you're not even thinking about it, you're just gone and just on autopilot. And that feeling of being in the zone is amazing, it's really good. I forgot what the question was. Oh, and that was like a big way for me to get these feelings out that I was struggling with growing up, through family problems and things I was dealing with, and you know, that helped me a lot. Without guitar, without music, I wouldn't like to think, to be honest. It wouldn't have been good, put it that way. I'm grateful for that kind of outlet that I had. Another thing, when I was a little bit older, my sister's first boyfriend got me into racing remote control cars. So I had a 1/8 scale Thunder Tiger, which had like you poured nitro fuel in there, and you know, there's a proper little engine in there, and you race them. And there's a local racetrack, and I raced, and that was another place where I kind of got in the zone, and I would be racing, and I would just kind of tune out, where I'm not even concentrating, it's like you're not even looking what you're doing, you're just kind of generally looking in that area, and you're kind of on autopilot. And I think this is what proper race car drivers do. They just, it's weird to say, but you kind of just, you're kind of gone. But you get your laps perfect, like you follow the racing line perfect, you don't mess up, everything's just like perfect, because I can't explain it, but it's in the zone, and I get that feeling sometimes. Yeah, that was another kind of release. The next question is, so thank you Lola, that's an interesting question. I hope I answered it okay. Basically, sugar and guitar. Can you name 2 top notes and 2 bass notes that you're currently in love with? So I love oud and sandalwood, 2 favourite bass notes. Top notes, I'm not a huge fan of top notes in general, like not a fan. Top notes tend to be things like citruses or spices and things like that, and there isn't any that like hugely appeal to me, like where I think, oh yeah, this is my favourite top note. I just genuinely don't have that. I'm more into base notes and mid notes, so I don't really have an answer particularly. Sorry. The next question is from Fran, who writes, "Hey Peter, how are you today?" I'm okay, thanks. Really liked the video, you should do more like this one. And since you said any questions, how old are you? So, I am 31 years old, my birthday is in November. I don't know if I'm not going to say the specific date. I'm 31. Unfortunately about to turn 32 in like this week. So yeah, I'm old. I feel old. I don't look 32 or 31. I don't look 31. I'm nearly 32. I might as well be 32. It's depressing. Because I think Stephen's younger than me from Adolescence, and I think if you ask most people would guess he's older. But you know, I'm older than him. I'm older than Jeremy Fragrance. So yeah, I'm getting on. The next question is off topic, but I thought I would take a shot. Are you religious or spiritual at all? No. I don't believe in God. I'm definitely not going to say there's definitely no God and I'm right and you're wrong. Like, it's just, generally speaking, I'm not religious. I don't believe in any religions. I don't believe in any kind of god or deity. I feel like there's more chance that the simulation theory is accurate if you research that than a god. I'm more inclined to believe that a programmer programmed us in some other baseline reality and that we're just one of many multiverses within a computer. Like, that's more realistic to me and probable than believing in a god for me personally. But I respect anyone who has a faith. Like, I don't have a problem with religious people. Like, I don't judge on that. I don't care kind of what people follow, what people believe. People need their own things to get by, and whatever you believe is what you believe. But I don't like people that push it onto other people. And when you look at it, there's like over 2,000 religions on the planet, and everyone thinks theirs is the right one. So, yeah, I'm not religious. Spirituality is a different kind of meaning, and I believe that... See, this is a kind of a deep subject. I believe it's possible that there's some kind of energy within that some people might call a soul, and that might leave one day when you die and float off somewhere and go into something else. Like, maybe, you know, but to me that would be more scientific based rather than a god based thing, or just something that we don't understand. The way I view it is that the way we look at a hamster, like, imagine the hamster's view of the universe or the world that it's in. All it sees is the cage that it's inside, and that's his only view of the world, right? Compare that to what we think of the universe, and it's very different. And I feel like you can look at any animal on the planet and they have a very narrow view. Okay, so we're an animal too. I would imagine that we have a very narrow view, even though we like to think we know it all, and these very intelligent people like to decode the universe and think that they know everything. I feel like the fact is that there's a lot we don't know, there's a lot we can't see, there's a lot we don't understand, and I would imagine that we are also in a glass bowl, being blissfully unaware of most things, and that there could be a whole plethora of things all around us that we can't see, we can't sense, that we just have no awareness of, because we're not enlightened enough or intelligent enough or awake enough to even comprehend some of it. So that's a very interesting kind of topic. I kind of delved off into a different kind of direction there. But in general, no, I'm not religious or spiritual, but I do believe there's a lot of things that we just don't understand. And in general, I believe that there's a lot that we're unaware of, and we're quite ignorant as a species as a whole. I feel like the universe is, from my understanding, and the universe is very mathematical, and that mathematics is kind of the thing that is the universe and is pretty much everything. And like when you break down an atom, you know, people thought that the atom was the smallest little thing, and then we found out we could split the atom, and inside that was a proton and a neutron and an electron, and then we thought those were the smallest particles, you know, and then we found quarks and Higgs boson, and you know, it gets smaller and smaller, and these things get more weird as you kind of go into it, and particles are like reappearing and disappearing instantly in multiple places all at once, and like it's like magic, like it doesn't make sense. And it's like Schrodinger's cat. It's like we're alive and dead at the same time, because everything that is everything, like what the atoms that create me, and the atoms that create this bed, and the atoms in this airspace in front of me now that I'm pushing with my hands, is all the same things. And all those little things on the smallest scale are appearing and disappearing instantly in multiple places at different times all at once. So we are simultaneously existing and not existing at the same time. Like it's weird to wrap my head around all this string theory stuff, and it's stuff that I don't pretend to understand properly, but how that plays into spirituality is interesting. Moving on to the next question. One of my favourite scents is Amber Oud. I'm presuming they mean by Killian. Can you please give me a couple of alternative fragrances that have a sweet, smoky, creamy vanilla and better projection? I like Amber Oud. It's like a boozy, ambery vanilla. So, based on that, on a boozy, resinous vanilla, I would say check out Hendley Bourbon. It is based around natural, real Madagascan vanilla bourbon with cognac and toasted literally in an oak barrel. So it's a woody, boozy vanilla that's slightly smoky and creamy. So yeah, check out Bourbon by Hendley. The next question is, John asks, in your whole fragrance journey, what's your unforgettable experience frag in good and bad way? In terms of feedback. What are we talking, like compliments, just general kind of feedback? I would say in a bad way, I get the most negative reactions from Tuscan leather. Plenty of people don't like it and just tell you that they don't like it, including the guy that cuts my hair. So that's probably gets me the most kind of bad reactions. I was wearing Fateh Sultan Mehmed by Fortin Manley a while ago outside when I thought it had kind of gone away, and I was outside the back of a pub talking to some people I know, and this girl just turned around and said, "Oh wow, you smell really good." Well, and that's what it is. And I was like really surprised that she could smell it, because I couldn't smell it anymore. I said, "Oh really, you can smell it?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, no, I smelled it as soon as you walked up." I was like, wow, okay. That's more surprise than kind of anything else though. I mean, I don't get like mega compliments. I don't have a huge pool of friends. I'm not massively sociable. So, you know, it's not like I go clubbing every week, or, you know, so I don't get huge compliments. So positive feedback, usually generally from friends and family. Nothing that stands out though. One negative reaction was from this one, when I wore it offshore, and one of the divers turned around to me when I walked past them wearing this, and he says, "Hey Peter, you smell like a French whore." That stuck. So there you go. So the second part of John's question is, Peter, from your channel, totally can see you are an introvert personality in a good way. Any fragrances you like to use as your, without talking too much, flirting wingmen when there is a love around your life? So I've been single for 5 years and I genuinely have absolutely zero interest in getting a girlfriend at the moment. I'll be honest, like, I'm just not interested. I don't want the complication. Like, I've been in 3 relationships in my life. All of them have been very short. All of them have been bad. No, that's an exaggeration. The middle one was okay. The middle one was religious, like, super Christian. She used to pray for me that I was going to hell. Like, it was just a bit weird. She broke up with me because she felt like she couldn't. She'd gone to this church meeting where she said she'd felt the presence of God and it was so powerful it made her cry. And she felt like she couldn't share that with me because, you know, I think there's a logical explanation for why people think that. And yeah, I can understand that she believes that, but it's not something that I actually believe myself, and she knows that, and she couldn't share that, so she had to break up with me because that's a big part of her and what she believes, and I completely get it. It was fine, you know, it didn't work out, so that's no problem. The first girlfriend, I was completely in love with the girl, like head over heels, just infatuated in love. Like, the smell of her hair just made my brain melt into a puddle, like first love kind of thing. And she ripped my heart out. Basically, she had a long-term boyfriend and we were best friends for like a couple of years while she was with the boyfriend, but I always like had feelings for her quite strongly because we used to work together and it was the bond of working together and spending time with her. I used to work in an off-license when I left school, like a wine shop selling wine and lager and stuff. And anyway, fell in love with this girl, and she was with this boyfriend, and anyway, they ended up moving away to Scotland together because he was Scottish, and she moved back down, and then she got back in touch with me, and she was like, do you want to hang out? And I've split up with my boyfriend, he's cheated on me, and anyway, we ended up spending like every single day together for a couple of months, and then we ended up one night in bed together and things happened and it was great, and then we kind of spent another 2 months together intimately, but she didn't ever want to say that she was my girlfriend. She didn't want to class it as a relationship, but we literally spent every single day together, and you know, we had a lot of fun for a while. And then there was one night that she was crying in bed, and she's never told me why she was crying. I'm presuming she was just thinking about her ex. And I was like, my heart was like dying. Like she was crying, and what can I? It just came out, and I told her that I loved her, and like that was the first time I'd said it, and she freaked the fuck out and was like, "What do you mean? Do you mean that?" And I was like, I knew she didn't want that, so I kind of backtracked and was like, "Oh, I just said it because I thought that's what you wanted to hear," kind of thing, like, because I didn't want it to go away. And she asked me the next day if I meant it, and I said yes, you know, I love you. And she like blocked me on the phone, blocked me on the email, deleted me off Facebook, and never spoke to me again. And I was fucking destroyed for like literally like a year. I was just depressed. I remember like the week it happened, being in bed crying my eyes out like a baby. Like I felt like just dying. Like honestly, I was just destroyed, totally heartbroken. It was like the end of the world, like literally the end of the world. My emotions were so strong. I couldn't handle it. It took me ages to get over it. And we're funnily enough, we're friends now. And then I ended up, I forgave her. Like, it wasn't right for her at the time. For her, it was like rebound for her, you know what I mean? She wanted to get over a long-term boyfriend, so she was having fun with me to get over it, and she moved on and found someone else. Yeah, but she helped me a lot. The relationship helped me, even though it's not, she didn't want to call it a relationship, for me it was. And I think now she would kind of say it was too. It just never was officially, like, we were never Facebook, you know, relationship, put it that way. And, okay, I'm going off on a massive tangent here. What was I saying? What was even the question? I'm completely lost. Hold on. Oh yeah. God, we went really off on the wrong tangent. Sorry. What was I saying? So, yeah, and then the second girlfriend was the over-religious one, then the third girlfriend was the crazy one. The one where everything I did was wrong, and the one that triggered the perfume thing because the look she gave me, the one with the chicken bones and made her feel sick because I'd left the KFC bone in the box where she could see it. And I took her to Alton Towers for her birthday, and she loved Alton Towers, and I'm scared of heights. And I went on all the rides, even though I was terrified. What made me physically sick, it was called the Nemesis, and I went physically white in the queue, like watching it go around because it was so terrifying looking. And went on it fine, got off, felt okay, and then like a couple of minutes later I felt physically sick, like I want to throw up. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna just have to sit down here for a minute, I don't feel good. And she got pissy with me. She's like, I want to carry on, I want to keep going, I want to go on more rides. And I was like, okay. We went into this room that had like wonky floors, like do you know where like the walls are weird shapes, and it's like an optical illusion thing where you feel unsteady. It tripped me over the edge. I had to run out. Luckily there was a toilet very close. I like projectile vomited like 5 times, just everywhere. Like I was just destroyed, white as a sheet, completely fucked. Washed myself up, went back outside, and she was just like, and she said, I want to go home, you've ruined my birthday, this is the worst birthday I've ever had, I wanted to go on all the rides again, I can't now because you're sick, I'm going. And she stormed off to the car. I was like, oh. So I ran after her and I was like persuading her to like stay and carry on, and I was like, no, I can keep going, it's fine, let's stay please. I didn't want the day to get ruined, and I persuaded her, let's go for a meal, because we hadn't even eaten yet and it was like lunchtime. So we queued at this restaurant in the park for like 10 minutes to get in. We sat down, and as we sat down eventually she said, are you okay? And I went like that, because I wasn't, I was fucked. But I went, she just literally, she didn't say anything, she got up and walked out, walked back to the car in silence. I had to drive her home. I decorated a cake for her with her name and love hearts and her musical candle, and I was like, do you want to take your cake home? She's like, no, I don't even want to see it. And she buggered off. And then she texted me about 3 or 4 hours later saying, oh, I'm sorry, I hope you're okay. And I just text back saying, I'm sorry, I've ruined your birthday. And she says, oh no, you haven't ruined my birthday, I had a good day, I enjoyed it. It was just a total mind fuck. And that was my last girlfriend. So yeah, I've had 3 relationships. One of them broke my heart into pieces where I was just destroyed. The second one was just, to be honest, the second one, it shouldn't really have been a relationship. It just kind of, she liked me and I just kind of went along with it. Like, we didn't have strong feelings for each other. It was just casual bit of fun for like, I think 3 months, and then we parted ways. It wasn't nothing serious. The last one was 4 months with the crazy one, and it started off really well. I think the first 2 months were great, like amazing, really great, really liked her, and then she went weird, and then it got really bad, and then the last 2 months were horrific. And I've just wanted to be single since. I've had literally no interest in getting wrapped up in a relationship since then. I want to concentrate on my life and doing what I want to do and setting up my brand and traveling where I want to go, and you know, a relationship will come along when it does, but I'm not in a hurry. So this question, going back to this question eventually, you know, what fragrances do I wear on the pull, basically? Like when I want to flirt, like I don't flirt. I don't wear fragrances to attract women, because I'm in the attitude that I don't want a relationship. I don't want to find anyone. I'm not interested. You know, I'm quite happy to have conversations with people and have friends, but I just don't want to get, I suppose I don't want to get hurt again, really. Someone will come along eventually, like it'll happen, but you know, I don't go out of my way to flirt with people, and there's no love in my life at the moment, like how he's worded here. So yeah, you know, yeah, that's how it is at the moment. So there's no, but even if there was, and even if I wanted to flirt with people, I wouldn't take the fragrance into consideration personally. Like, I wear what I enjoy, and if someone else doesn't enjoy it, then that's how it is. For me, compliments with fragrance is a bit ridiculous. Like, I just don't even think about it. The third question from John is, is Pardon a redundant fragrance, and how do you think of Baron de? I mean, what do you mean by redundant? I mean, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If you don't, you don't. Sample it. It's not redundant if you enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's a good fragrance for me, personally. What do I think of Baron de? I've reviewed it if you want to check out the review. I think it's excellent. It's a very good boozy fragrance. But I don't like boozy fragrances, so it's not one I would wear personally, but it's definitely one I would recommend to other people. I think it's a good fragrance. And what do I think of Mancera Cedrat Boise? Is it better than Aventus? Personally, no, I don't like it as much. I prefer Aventus personally. Again, personal choice, use your own judgment there, not mine. The next question is, if everything goes as planned and wished for, how do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Jesus, I'll be 41. God, that's old. Ugh. 41. Hopefully I've got a successful niche perfumery brand. I've travelled to all the places in the world that I want to go to. Hopefully I've got a really good relationship by then with someone that's awesome, that doesn't break my heart and fuck me over. That would be great. Yeah, that's where I see myself in 10 years. Next question is, hi Peter, do you have a favourite perfumer? What's your favourite fragrance for a woman? Favourite perfumer? I'm not sure. Like, there's a couple that I think are really good. I think Rasse Fort is a very good perfumer. I really like his work. Christy Michelle is one of the best natural perfumers, but the audience of who would appreciate her stuff is more limited. So in terms of sheer talent for blending perfume, I'm gravitating towards those two specific perfumers. In terms of what's your favourite fragrance for women, my favourite fragrance for women is probably Dolce & Gabbana The One Rose Edition. Is beautiful. I like Chanel's Coco Mademoiselle EDT. Is beautiful. I like Narciso Rodriguez EDT for her in the black bottle with the pink writing. Those are my three favourite women's perfumers. In general, I prefer designer women's perfumes over niche. I think designer do an awesome job for women's perfume. The next question is from Cole, and he's asked two questions. What has been your career path to diving? I.e., was it what you wanted to do, or was it just something that you fell into? Kind of both. This is a long story. So, I grew up next to an offshore deep sea diver that was long retired, but he had a massive house, like huge detached house with a massive garden. The house is worth probably a couple of million, and he had a Maserati, and I thought, damn, that's pretty cool. And he was an offshore diver, and I had no interest in it though. When I left school, I wanted to work in a recording studio, as like a sound engineer, and I went to university to do that, and I completely failed. Like, I did 1 year and like completely flunked all the exams at the end of the first year. Couldn't do any of it, didn't sink in. Like, I'm just stupid with the stuff that they were trying to teach me. I was like, well, this isn't going to happen. What else can I do with my life? And and I was like, so I wrote a list of things that interested me, and I just wrote deep sea diver. And kind of my brother is actually the one that ended up researching a little bit about it, and he got a information pack from this place called an information pack from a place called the Underwater Centre, which is in Fort William in Scotland, and it was all about commercial diving and the costs and the training. My dad, when he died when I was a kid, left me an inheritance fund which was almost enough to pay for it. So I worked at an off license after school. That saved me the difference that I needed, plus my inheritance, to then pay for this offshore diving course, and I just went for it. The scariest thing I've ever done, because I was like, I had social anxiety, I was very shy, I was very quiet, I was very worried back then. I had no confidence, no self-esteem. Yeah. And I went for it, and that's how it started. So I kind of fell into it, really. The second question, I watched your video about how you got into fragrances to wear, but what triggered you to start buying raw materials to make your own? That basically started exactly the same time as me starting collecting fragrances. Like, when I get into something, I want to understand it on a deeper level. Like, it's not enough for me just to buy a perfume and collect a couple. Like, I want to understand why it smells the way it does and what it is that I like about it. So basically, immediately I started buying essential oils to try and learn more. So it started exactly the same time. That's just how I am. I like to understand things. So the next question is from Holly, and she writes, what inspires you to explore a particular fragrance? Do you look at blogs, Fragrantica, base notes, etc.? Or do you just wing it when you're in shops? So generally speaking, like, I don't look at Fragrantica ever. I don't look at base notes. I'm not sure where I see things, like Facebook groups, I suppose. Other reviewers. If I'm scrolling through websites and I see something that usually it's the bottle that interests me. Like, if I see an interesting bottle, I'm more inclined to like look it up and see what it's about. And then, you know, if something intrigues me enough with the notes, then I'll go and get samples. But there's no, you know, that's pretty much it. And then the next question is, can you make a living only from YouTube after you reach 50,000 followers? If you can elaborate, please. Number of followers and dollars worth. I don't have a clue, so I'm asking. Thanks. There's loads of YouTube videos on that, on what YouTubers earn. So just look it up. There's loads of information on that. Can you earn a living with 50k? 50,000 subscribers doesn't mean anything. You don't get paid for subscribers. You get paid for views on your video, because on your video there's an advert, and you get paid per how many people bother watching that advert or not. That's how you get paid on YouTube. So it doesn't matter how many subscribers you got. If none of them are watching your content, you're not going to get paid. So it's not subscribers you need to worry about, it's view count. Realistically, if you want to earn a basic standard low income wage just purely off YouTube, I would really estimate that you need at least maybe 2 million views per month. So once you've paid tax on that, that's a basic kind of average low income. And 2 million views a month is quite a lot, really. I would never achieve that on my YouTube channel. I've had mine for 4 years and I only just passed 1 million, to put it in perspective. So it's not easy to make a living on YouTube, but like I say, there's tons of videos if you want to learn more about that. We're on the last question. Cool. Amber Right, so it's so beautiful where you live. My question for your Q&A is, can you see lots of stars? My camera isn't good enough to pick them up. I'd love to show you, but yeah, I live in the countryside, so there's no light pollution here, so you can see loads of stars. You can see Mars, Jupiter, like, you know, different planets. There's just a ton of stars. You can see satellites in orbit going across, little tiny balls of light just whizzing across in a straight line quite quickly. You can see the ISS space station as it flies over here. I've seen that a few times. So yeah, visibility when it's not cloudy is excellent for stars here. There's no light pollution. So yeah, loads of stars. And I live in Yorkshire generally. I'm not going to give a specific town or place or whatever, but generally speaking I'm in Yorkshire. And that's it. That's the end of the Q&A. We've answered all of them. I'm sorry it's such a long video. I hoped you got something out of it, and you know, maybe you know me a little bit better. Maybe, you know, you hopefully you found it interesting to listen to me waffle away and chat. Appreciate all your questions, and yeah, so I'll see you again next time with another video, and take care everybody.
And you've just been watching the Fragrance Review. Tune in next time. Na 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 na. Freed from desire, mind and senses purify. 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 Na 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 na.